Good afternoon, everyone. Recorded by Richter, back with another music segment for you. I'm actually coming today with a brand new segment that I'm introducing. It's going to be something that I do once a month here on this channel. And that segment that I'm going to be doing is called Recorded by Richter's Monthly Music, where each month I'm going to just come on here to discuss my favorite songs that were released in each month. So today I've got a pack of 15 songs I'm going to be discussing, and I'm not going to go crazy on them, obviously, because there's 15 songs. I'm just going to kind of give a little tiny bit of information on each one as I go through. But I thought that that would be a cool way for you guys to understand my taste in music and maybe get some recommendations on some music you might not have heard about. I keep my ear to the streets for music, and I, want to help out if someone else, is too busy and doesn't have the time to do that. And then also, I thought this would be a good time to introduce a second new segment that I want to get started here. So something that I've been talking about with my podcast partner E-Man is how good of a job we always do celebrating Black History Month in February and then Women's History Month in March. And we were kind of discussing, like, what if we took it further and kept going with these months and showcase something new each month. And so that's something that I want to start here today. And so for the longest time in Detroit, we've had this slogan that coincides with Tigers baseball coming back in April, called April in the D. They used to do all these songs for it, and they would have, local bands enter their submissions and see who wins to do the April in the D song or whatever. So I thought that that would be a good thing to focus on for April. This channel would be Detroit artists or Metro Detroit artists, because I will extend it out a little bit because there's some artists that are talented in Ypsi, which is just, a little bit west of Detroit. And so the Metro Detroit area is where I'm going to focus on. So I thought that that would be cool. So if you're a Detroit artist and you're watching this and you want me to hear your music and think maybe I haven't heard it, send it my way. You can DM me on Instagram or, even leave a comment here or whatever. So let's get into it. I want to rifle off some of these songs that I've been listening to. And let's see. The first one that I have for you is a song called Been So Long by Duran Jones and the Indications. If you're unfamiliar with Duran Jones and the Indications, they're an American contemporary R&B and soul group founded by a trio of singers, Duran Jones, Aaron Frazier, and guitarist Blake Rain. They formed in 2012. I've just more recently gotten hip to them when Aaron Frazier had put out his solo album. But this song is just really, really groovy, and it's a nice, relaxing, kind of therapeutic song, if you will. And another reason I picked it is because it kind of has a Roy Ayers feel. It kind of has that feeling. It's got the xylophones in it, and I don't know, it just kind of has that summer, make you feel good, like lay out in the sun type of music. So that's what that one is about. Just moving on to next track, I have an unlikely pairing that I was, kind of floored by. I didn't really know much about the first artist, but I know a lot about the featured artist. So the second track is a song called Don't Put It All On Me by Noah Cyrus and Fleet Foxes. Fleet Foxes is like a folk rock band that has been around since around like 2008-ish, I want to say. And I've been listening to them pretty heavily ever since then. Like, they are just brilliant song. Robin Pecknold, the lead singer, just brilliant songwriter and amazing singer and musician. And they are featured on this Noah Cyrus song. So Noah Cyrus, all that I really know about her is that she's Miley Cyrus's younger sister. I was not hip to her music. I didn't know what kind of, I thought that she made like pop music, pop-centric music. But this is very much like a folk ballad, like a piano ballad. And I just think that so I did a little research on this, and neither of them wrote this. It was written by Noah's brother. So the lyrics aren't quite Robin Pecknold lyrics. He's quite a bit better of a songwriter in my opinion, but I think Noah Cyrus and Fleet Foxes sound beautiful harmonizing on this track together. They're pretty much harmonizing all the way throughout the whole track, so I thought that that was really dope. Okay, moving on to a song called Everything Designer by the new founded group out of Your Old Droog and legendary producer Madlib. They're calling the group Droogie Otis when they make songs together, and this song is featuring Detroit's own Boldy James. So I was instantly drawn in by that, and just the fact that Your Old Droog doesn't get enough praise is why I really wanted to highlight him today. I mean, I could pick a million songs from Droog. He constantly drops. He's constantly feeding you with music, but I thought that this one was really an interesting, cool sound, and that I'm pretty impressed by the output of both Droog and Boldy. Those guys both drop like crazy, and they just make great street hip hop. There's a Droog album, I think it's called Movies, from earlier this year. It's really dope. So go peep that. Next on my list is a band that I won't spend much time on because I've already discussed them at length. I did a whole segment on My Morning Jacket and their new album. So I just wanted to put them on here anyways because they're amazing, and there's this song on there called Beginning from the Ending, which I also mentioned in that segment. That's just my favorite. So right now off the new album, it's just a really dope, long, rock-driven song with a cool, crunchy guitar solo at the end. So it's really dope. But moving along, another artist that I've discussed at length on this channel, I made an artist highlight video on, is Shay Noor. She's a Buffalo rapper that linked up with producer Superior, and they put out a joint project together. You know, Shay is a producer too, but every once in a while she'll link up with an outside producer and they'll collab on a project. I assume it's probably a lot less work for her to not have to make all the beats every album. So Shay's really good at it though. But this song called Ivory is really dope. She details what her life has been like with panic disorder and anxiety, which is something that I deal with quite a bit and that I've been working at minimizing in my life over the years. And I super relate to the topic of the song and what she was talking about. And so yeah, Shay, awesome project. Next one moving along is the long-awaited project. Well, this is from the long-awaited project by Chicago rapper and Chicago super producer No ID and Saba. No ID, legend, has worked with everybody and your mother in hip hop. Saba is another super skilled, but kind of sits underground a little bit. If you're into hip hop, you know, but you probably don't know. He hasn't had any kind of mainstream success yet. But there's this track on the new album that has potential, and it's featuring Raphael Sadiq and Kelly Rowland, and the song is called Crash. And something interesting about this one is Raphael Sadiq is from Tony Tony Tony, and also Dwayne Wiggins was from Tony Tony Tony. Dwayne Wiggins just passed away recently, one of the founding members, and he is actually credited as discovering Destiny's Child and doing some of their early production work. So it's interesting to have Kelly Rowland and Raphael Sadiq both on this Saba No ID track. I think it's really, really dope. Moving on is to an artist that you probably wouldn't expect me to talk about on this channel, but I'm trying to branch out and keep an open mind to genres and artists that I might not normally tap into. And so with track 7 on my list, I have Lady Gaga's Blade of Grass. Now, I have some critical things to say about Lady Gaga and some positive things. So like when she dropped Die With A Smile with Bruno Mars, I was excited because it was super soulful. They had this like country western aesthetic going on in the music video, the way Gaga was dressed, the way Bruno was dressed. And so I'm thinking, you know, maybe Gaga's next album is she's gonna lean into some really soulful, deep, meaningful records with, you know, great storytelling and lyrics and stuff. And so when I went to go press play on the album, I was really confused. It's like a bunch of 90s sounding electro pop tunes, which I know that's kind of her bag, but it was confusing because none of the album relates to Die With A Smile whatsoever. Like, it almost sounds like they just tossed it on because it was a big hit single already. Like, it really doesn't fit the album, aside from the only other track on the album I enjoyed besides Die With A Smile, and that's Blades of Grass, because it was, you know, kind of deep and with more instrumentation and a prettier production and soulful, heartfelt lyrics. The rest of it just felt like it was so lacking of heart. I tried to get through the beginning of the album, and I don't know, man, it was just like one interchangeable mediocre dance song after another, in my opinion. So I just was not into it. But I do think that, so I don't want to be super negative all the time, and so I will say that out of that batch, I did really like the song Blades of Grass on there. So she has one or two on the album that I liked. Anyways, moving on to a group called L. Michaels Affair and a song called Kodak. So if you're not familiar with L. Michaels Affair, they are kind of like a soulful instrumental group. They make kind of like cinematic sounding music, but it's like just really interesting. I got hip to them when Black Thought did a project using their beats. And so I got hip to them, and so I've been listening to them ever since. So I just think it's a nice little groovy track that you can check out. And then moving on, next we have, oh, that's another one too, which also feels like it's influenced by Roy Ayers a little bit. So I wanted to also mention that. Okay, so next one is the second single from a project that I'm highly anticipating, and that's going to be the next Lil Sims album. Lil Sims just dropped her second single called Free, and this one now, so this is a distinction that I wanted to make here, because the first 5 Lil Sims albums up into this Drop 7 project, this short project that she dropped last year, were all produced by artist Inflow, who is also the co-creator of Salt with his wife Cleo Sol. And so I kind of assumed that it would be back to normal and Sims's next project would be produced by Inflow, and there we go, we're back at it. But it was just announced that Little Sims is suing Inflow for not repaying her on a loan used for both music production and like Salt live shows. So I was so disheartened to hear that, because their music together is so good. It's like one of my favorite rapper producer pairings. And then also Cleo Sol has been featured on a lot of Little Sims. But I don't want to get into their lawsuit because I know nothing about it. I don't know any of these people personally, so I think it'd be silly for me to even try to uncover what's going on in that situation. But the reason I bring it up is to say that Miles Clinton James is the producer on this new song Free, and he was also on the first single Flood. So I'm wondering if Miles Clinton James might be the new producer of the whole project. That would be pretty interesting. I really like what he's done so far with Free and Flood, both very cinematic and fit Little Sims' vibe very well. Okay, moving on. So now we are to another project that I've discussed in an artist highlights segment, and that would be the singer from Little Dragon, and her name is Yukimi, and she just put out her brand new album For You, and there's the new single on there I think is really strong. She's got a music video out for it. It's called Make Me Whole, and it's just really dreamlike. It's really, I like to call it vortex music. That's what I like to call music that really kind of trips me out and sends me to a different place in my mind. And Yukimi is really great at doing that, so I wanted to include her still, even though I've talked about her quite a bit on this channel. Moving on now to a really heavy YG song. So YG put out a song yesterday called 2004 featuring Buddy and the Gang. I'm not sure who the Gang is. Buddy is another West Coast LA artist who is phenomenal. He's got a great singing voice, great rapping voice. He used to work with Nipsey Hussle quite a bit back in the day, and he works with all the West Coast dudes. And he's a great hook guy as well as a rapper, and so that's basically the purpose that he serves on this song. But it's a really deep, topical song and stuff you don't hear much out of the rap world, and that's why I wanted to make sure to highlight it, because I think it's awesome that rappers are now feeling comfortable to unpack things that they were maybe nervous to tell the world prior to this. And I think that Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers by Kendrick has really influenced artists to live in their truth and not run from it and wear it on their sleeve a little bit. Because on this track, YG's actually detailing being raped as a teenager by an older woman. And that is something that doesn't get discussed much in hip hop. So I think it's important, and I applaud YG for doing it. Moving on to a artist that I will be cutting a highlight segment on, and that is Detroit rapper Jalen Frazier. Jalen is incredible. I'm trying to do my best to get his name out there because he mostly operates out of the underground space in Detroit, but has been seeing little bits of success here and there. He got placement on Real Late by Peter Rosenberg up at Hot 97, and I think I've heard a couple other things, but I don't want to just put all his business out there. But he is incredibly gifted. He can sing, he can rap, he's very vivid in his storytelling and his bars, and I just think he's incredible. His song is called Made Men. It's out now. There's a video for it too. He actually, on my podcast, Beats, Brews, and Points of View, he sat down with us and we did a full episode with him. So I'll link that in the description in case you want to go learn some more about Jalen. He's just really, really gifted. So make sure you go pop over and show him some love. Okay, we're almost to the end now. Track 13 is by an artist that I'm kind of new to, but I really think that he's making very interesting sounding hip hop. And that's McKinley Dixon, and it's featuring Shamir and Blue from Blue in Exile, who's still dropping a lot of heat in the underground space. But McKinley Dixon, this song is called Could Have Been So Different. And one thing that I think is so dope about it, and maybe why it's caught my ear so much, is it's a really great blend of like a jazz band mixed with hip hop. Like there's a lot of dope instrumentation and like horn sections, and the beats feel organic and live more so than like in a digital space. So I just think that that's a really cool thing, and his sound is very unique. So I wanted to highlight him there. Okay, last two tracks. Track 14 is out of a band that I've been following for some years now called Wolfpack. Wolfpack is hard to box in. They are a group of musicians that can pretty much do it all. They're all multi-instrumentalists, singers, and they have a rotating door of not band members, but artists that are like associates of the band, if you will. A little backstory on Wolfpack is none of them are from the state of Michigan. Well, a couple, Antoine Stanley, who features on their songs a lot, is from Flint. But the core members of the band, I don't think are from Michigan, but met at U of M while attending college together and formed the band there. And they have this track on their new album called Can You Tell, featuring Joey Dosick. And it's just such a groovy track. I really, really love it. It almost sounds like some Sly and the Family Stone type shit. It's funky, but it's kind of mellow at the same time, and it just has like a great vocal performance out of Joey. So I wanted to make sure to promote them. And now finally, track 15, we are with which I thought was a band at first. I didn't know it was kind of like a Tame Impala situation where it was like one brainchild, and then he brings it to a band and then they perform it out. But that's out of artist Saint Lucia. Saint Lucia is a South African musician based in Germany, which also is something I didn't know until today. But he's been dropping nonstop amazing projects since, I think, 2013. And this new one is no different. It's very ambitious. There's some songs that are very long on it that I think are really cool. I like when artists dare to be bold like that and put out long songs. And the track that I chose from there is called In Your Arms. I think they have a music video out for it now too, so it might be their lead single. but I just think they're really, really dope sounding. He actually the vocal performance on this specific track almost reminds me of Robin Pecknold from Fleet Foxes that I mentioned earlier. But yeah, that's the tracks that I have for you. That's my 15 tracks for March. They're not always going to be 15. There might only be a couple some months. There might be a ton one other month. But also, to make things easier for you, on my YouTube channel, I made a playlist of all these songs that you can go and easily find. So you don't have to do too much searching the internet. It's all going to be right there for you. So I will link that down in the description, as well as the Jalen interview. But beyond that, I just want to say go Tigers. It's awesome to have baseball back. And that's all I got for you today. So we'll see you next time. Peace.